Hey everybody, it's Bert. I'm sorry I've been gone for a little while. I've been really busy with my new job and traveling a lot and all the other fun things that go into doing that kind of stuff. So I have been gone for about 3 weeks almost, and I know you've all missed me terribly, but I've just been really busy. Haven't slept a whole lot and haven't had any free time. So it's been one of those points in your life where you're like, oh, the holidays are over. I can finally relax, and then it really just never kind of ends. So it's just like that. Anyway, we are still working on the Exocet. We are still working on stuff here for the channel. I haven't had any time to do any rendering because I really haven't been home at all, which obviously sucks. But I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what we are working on the Exocet right now. Basically, what we've got is we did the last little bit of prep for getting it powder coated. We drilled all the 3/16 holes for all the rivets that we're going to be doing. We did get the gas tank mounted. What we did is we used some very convenient, simple energy suspension bushings that you can get from AutoZone. They're like $12. We put one on the top and one on the bottom for all 4 of the mounts, and that'll obviously prevent a lot of vibration and rattling, which will eliminate most of the problems that people have had with the gas tanks breaking loose. An unfortunate thing that we have recently realized is that the wheels we have, the Avanti Storm S2s from Tire Rack, will not work with the Exocet, and the main reason is we've got these hangers here that fit on the wheel. Now, as you can see here, this hanger here fits. I did a really bad job at welding and changed its angle, added 40 millimeters to it, not realizing that it still really wouldn't work, and it doesn't give us a whole lot of clearance with the body either. So unfortunately, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go with not exactly as nice of looking as rims. We'll have the same wheels, but we're going to go with the 0 offset wheels that Exocet offers, and it will obviously bring the stance of the wheels a little bit further out, and we'll change the geometry of it. But unfortunately, no one really makes a 0 offset wheel, unless you're getting like a truck tire or something like that. Nobody makes it. Tire Rack doesn't have anything, and I haven't found anyone else that does besides the ones that Exocet supplies. So unfortunately, my buddy John is getting those brand new wheels, so his super turbo Miata will have grip next year, or this year when he goes to the track, so congratulations to him on that. Now, one thing we went ahead and did is install our wonderful fire retardant shifter boot and all that. That way we don't have to worry about any fires breaking out while we're driving. We did do all the rivets for the whole front, and I have rivets in there just kind of holding them in because I don't have any of those temporary spring rivets, unfortunately. We did all the other ones in the back that unfortunately fell out, and one thing I had to redo was the very small grade 8 bolts, and I had to replace them with 7/16 bolts going into the chassis for any mounting points for the driver's seat or the passenger seat in order to pass Pennsylvania and SCCA regulations. Which I will fully admit that was my fault. I didn't know that ahead of time, so I kind of wasted some time and money, but really all I had to do was drill larger holes. It's not that big of a deal. But the cool thing going on the front end is this. We got ourselves a very nice Nishimoto racing radiator. Now, this is a really nice radiator. I'm very happy with the way it turned out with the install. And it'll bolt up pretty much the exact same way the NA radiator was, which this is actually an NA radiator, so it mounts on the sides. As you can see right here looking down, there's a top mount there with a little rubber grommet. And then there is a bottom mount here, which I drilled a hole and mounted it to the bottom, and those are stock mounting points for the normal NA radiator. So this bolted up just like it should with the normal mounting points for an NA, which is what the Exocet is entirely built off of, is actually the NA chassis and the NA radiator. But this, obviously being a much larger radiator, will give us a lot more cooling potential, especially when we throw a supercharger on here. We're going to be building a lot of extra heat, a lot of extra power. This will help get rid of a lot of that. Unfortunately, 949 Racing is out of all of the coolant reroutes, and they don't know when they're going to be getting them in, so we'll probably be doing one of those at a later point. Now, one thing I will mention that has a lot of people concerned and asking me questions is about the brake lines. And if we go ahead and we look here, those are actually the stock brake lines. You can reuse almost all of the stock brake lines from your normal Miata for this. You have to be a bit careful and bend them very carefully, but as you can see right there, we got that guy going down to the front, and I believe it's the exterior one there that goes to the other front wheel, and then my finger's all over the place, the internal one then goes down and goes through the trans tunnel. Now,
Now, one thing Doug was really specific about is he said, we're going to have a brake proportioning valve, especially for the back of the car, because we are completely changing the weight and we don't know how we want it to behave. So I went down and got a Wilwood brake proportioning valve. It should work pretty easily with what we want to do. We're going to go ahead and mount it somewhere under the dash. It's easily accessible, but won't accidentally be bumped if someone's driving, you know, very aggressively and anything like that, and you can change it kind of on the fly as well. So we'll be working with that. I'm not exactly sure how to get all that to work. I'll probably just spline that in the line and put it through the firewall, but I haven't figured that out yet. It won't take long. But the big and important thing with that is that, yes, you can reuse most of the brake lines as long as you're not a complete idiot and you don't ruin them, or they're at least in good shape. Mazda happens to do a very good job of making brake lines. They coat them in rubber, so they don't rust at all. This had 144,000 miles on it, and I would have said that the brake lines were never used. They looked absolutely spotless, which I thought was really nice. Another thing, you will have to make mounting points for your flexes on the front, for where your hard lines go to your soft lines. I'm going to show you what I did.
We've got this 3/16 thick piece of steel here that I then bent, drilled I forget how big the hole was, but I drilled that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and weld this to the inside of the frame once we send this, right before we take it off and send it to powder coating, so I don't weld on top of the nice clear coat and ruin all that. So you will have to build these. It took about 2 minutes to make. They're really not that difficult. Just get some 3/16 or 1/8 inch steel plate and you'll be fine. It's really not that bad.
And obviously, I did the exact same thing for the driver's side as well. Now, one thing I will mention is that some people are drilling and mounting a lot of stuff to the Exocet. I don't like the idea of drilling. With a tubular chassis, you've already sacrificed a lot of weight, and the strength of this will be good, but I don't want to go ahead and drill holes in it. I'm doing that very sparsely where you're supposed to in the square chassis, in the square part of the chassis, but the tubular chassis, I'm avoiding that almost entirely. So I'm going to weld whatever I can just so I don't possibly weaken it anymore, just because it's just not very smart to drill a hole in a circular structure because it loses a lot of its strength. A square, it's a little bit different with the geometry. But that being said, be careful and be mindful and just think of if there's any other way to do it. For me, I'm just going to weld it because I feel most comfortable with that. Other than that, we haven't really done anything else. We did extend, obviously, the wheel spacers. We have a 15 millimeter wheel spacer on the back. Obviously, now that we found out we have the wrong wheels, we can change that. And we'll probably maybe keep them still. I'm not sure yet. We'll just have to kind of figure that out. One thing I will mention is that, very important actually, is the lap belt. Now, Exomotive goes ahead and they weld in these really big heavy-duty brackets for your lap belt if you're running a 5-point harness or something like that. Let me show you. They weld in this bad boy right here. Now, this thing is about a 1/4 inch thick steel, and it is welded in really nicely. However, it's nowhere near on center with the center of our seat. So what I did is I went ahead and I drilled a 7/16 hole through the bottom here, and a lot of people actually end up doing that. That won't compromise the strength of this part at all because it's reinforced already. And that actually then makes our mounting point exactly center with where the seat is in the middle there. So that's what had me really concerned originally. Was that when we were looking at it, it's like, wait, this isn't, it was off by almost like 2 inches. It looked bad. It looked really bad. And Doug was saying, hey, we're going to have to fix that because that's not going to fly. And the big thing with this is there's almost no safety in this car. You're designed to have fun, but it's even more dangerous than a motorcycle, in my opinion, because you can't bail out. You are in it until it stops. That's pretty much the rule of the game. So you might as well make your restraints as strong as possible. Don't half-ass that. Now, going back to the back of the car, one thing we did is we did test fit the trunk before we actually, not the trunk, oh God, the gas tank cover. Now, it was a little tricky because it isn't exactly the same shade. It's not completely asymmetrical, even though it should be. So what we ended up doing was we test fit it, and then we took a couple pieces of cardboard, and we set them on both sides. There's one over there too. And that's a little over 1/4 inch that has the fiberglass cover sitting off the chassis, obviously, so it doesn't rattle. Then what we did is we marked it, and we went ahead and drilled a couple holes. I will let you know that the metal here, this metal plate to drill in those 2 rivets, took forever because that is unbelievably hard steel. Oh my God, it just sucked. It took us forever. So we also did it to the one in the back there. If you can see, there's another mount in the back.
So what you want to do is get a nice bright light, shine it up under there, get it mounted the way you want, and then mark it. And there is a bit of wiggle room because the fiberglass will bend, and that does obviously give you a little bit of wiggle room, but you want it roughly centered so that it doesn't look all screwy. Otherwise, every time you walk by it, it's gonna drive you nuts, which is bad.
I know I've gone over a lot of stuff here, and I'm trying to get as much done. We don't have any really pre-built, video archives for me right now to release season 2 yet, but we will be releasing Exocet Build season 2, the completion here, probably I would say running around the middle of February, hopefully maybe a little bit afterwards. It all depends on how long it takes for us to get this thing back from powder coating, and I'm actually recording this on the same day that this is getting uploaded. So be mindful, be a little bit patient, try not to, think that I've abandoned you guys. I'm just really busy with work, and I really wish I wasn't. I'm also driving almost an hour to work every day. I really appreciate everyone's patience, and thank you for joining me, and thank you for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. I'm just really busy with life, as it always seems to get really, really crazy this time of year, which never really seems to end, so it's always crazy. But I'm going to try and make sure to take some time off here in the future and finish this up. The big thing for me is the SCCA usually starts doing their races. Usually there's one like at the end of, I think it's March. If I remember from what Doug said, maybe. They haven't posted the event schedule yet. Anyway, my point is, I want to at least have this ready for the track. Even if it's not road legal, I can put it on a trailer and I can take it to the track. And I want to take this thing for a test drive. Worse than you could possibly imagine. So, hopefully we get to do that here. I can't imagine it's going to do anything super fantastic, but, we are building this with a quality build. We are taking our time. One thing I will tell you is that if you're going to build an Exocet, I'd say plan on taking about a year. Since the time you start the project, unless you have really good planning and you get your chassis delivered right after you start, then obviously it might not take as long. But I kind of expected this to be like a year-long project. I know that seems like a lot. Given that I'm trying to run a full-time job, I'm trying to do a full-time job, trying to run a YouTube channel and trying to do this, it can get a bit hectic. And also trying to have a personal life, gets in there a little bit as well. So, with that being said, I'm rambling like a moron, and I'm going to go ahead and leave this video here, guys. So, until next time, I am Bert from Pixel Armory. Like, favorite, subscribe. I love you all, and I'll see you guys next time.
And a huge shout out to our friends Chris Williams, Nico Daché, and Patrick O'Connor for being our awesome Patreon subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. It really means a lot to all of us here at Pixel Armory. And if anybody else would like to join the crew and be a Patreon subscriber, feel free to go to the link in the description and help us out. Take care, guys. Thank you.